A lonely, homeless puppy was ignored by everyone. He had no one and nowhere to belong. Then one day, a tiny kitten entered his life. That little kitten gave him friendship, love, and a sense of home. Together, they became each other's family wet grass pressed against the little puppy's belly as he lay alone in the farthest corner of the shelter yard. Rain from the night before still clung to the earth, and every time he shifted, the cold dampness slid into his fur. He tucked his paws closer and tried to make himself smaller, as if he could disappear between the blades of grass. People were walking past the fence again. He could hear the crunch of their shoes on the gravel path and the bright, excited barks of other dogs rushing to the front. Metal gates rattled, tags jingled, and voices rose in soft, happy tones. "Look at this one," a woman said close by on the other side of the fence. "Such pretty eyes." The puppy lifted his head, hope pricking his chest like a tiny spark. He listened, heart beating faster. Maybe they were talking about him this time. But when he peeked around the corner of the small wooden shed that hid his spot, he saw a little white dog standing with his front paws against the gate, tail spinning in quick circles. A man laughed and bent down to scratch the white dog's chin through the bars. "He's perfect," the man said. The puppy's ears drooped. The spark inside him faded, leaving the familiar emptiness behind. Quietly, he lay his head back on his paws and turned his face away. He did not bark. He did not run to the fence. He had tried that in the first weeks, jumping up, wagging his tail until it hurt, trying to lick fingers through the bars. But every time, eyes slid over him and moved on to the louder, braver, prettier dogs. After a while, Hope had started to feel heavy, like a collar made of stone. From the shelter building came the warm smell of food and the distant sound of a radio playing soft music. Somewhere, a volunteer laughed. The world felt bright and busy everywhere except where the puppy lay, hidden by the shed, half in shade. A fly buzzed near his nose. He pushed it away with a slow blink and tried not to think about how long it had been since anyone had said his name out loud. The tag on his collar still read Milo, scratched in thin black letters. But the volunteers had so many dogs to care for that they usually called him Buddy or Little Guy when they remembered to notice him at all. He did not blame them. They were kind. They gave him food, water, and a blanket. They talked softly when they walked by. But there were always new boxes, new crates, new frightened eyes arriving. He saw them being carried in and heard the worried sounds they made on the first night. There was never enough time for all of them. Milo sighed, the sound barely louder than the rustle of grass. A small flower, white with a yellow center, wobbled in front of his nose. He stared at it, then gently pressed his nose against the petals. They were soft and cool. For a moment, he imagined another nose touching his there, another warm body curling up against his side. In his memory, the feeling was fuzzy, like a dream he almost remembered. His brothers and sisters. The pile of tiny bodies breathing together. That was before the box, before the shelter, before the steady stream of footsteps that never stopped for him. Boots crunched nearby. The familiar sound pulled him out of his thoughts. "Has anyone taken interest in him yet?" It was the calm voice of Lena, one of the volunteers. She was standing near the main run, talking to the shelter manager. Milo's ears twitched. They were not looking at him, but he listened anyway. "He's shy," Lena went on, her voice softer. "Just needs the right person." The manager sighed. "People want playful or tiny or already trained. He hides. They think something's wrong with him." Milo curled his tail tighter around himself. He did not understand all the words, but he understood enough. Something's wrong. Hides. He did not want to hide. He wanted to be brave. Every morning he told himself he would try again, that he would run to the fence and meet the new people. But then he heard the other dogs, the loud barks, the clanging gates, the quick decisions, and his paws felt glued to the ground. A child's voice broke through the noise, high, soft, curious. "Can I see the puppies again?" Milo lifted his head just a little. A small boy appeared along the path with his mother. He wore a red jacket and carried a toy car in one hand. As they approached the row of kennels, almost every dog rushed forward, paws up, tails wagging hard enough to shake their bodies. "Wow," the boy whispered, eyes wide with delight. He moved from kennel to kennel, pressing his fingers through the bars, giggling when tongues brushed his skin. Milo watched from the shadow of the shed. His chest tightened. This boy looked different from the others somehow. Slower, more thoughtful. He stopped at each dog and looked into their eyes for more than a second. He whispered to them, his lips moving in gentle, secret words. When he reached the last kennel, he frowned and looked around. "Where's the other one?" he asked. "The lady said there was one more puppy." Milo's heart skipped. The manager glanced toward the far corner of the yard. "He's a bit shy over there." The boy followed his gaze. His eyes landed on Milo's shape half hidden beside the shed. Milo froze. The boy squinted, then slowly walked closer, his shoes crunching softly on the gravel as if he was trying not to scare anything away. His mother stayed back, watching with a patient smile. Milo's body wanted to tremble, but he held himself still. The boy stopped a few steps from the fence. "Hi," the boy whispered. "I see you." The words were simple, but they slipped through the bars and the space and the fear, landing somewhere deep in Milo's chest. Still, he did not move forward. He remembered all the times he had tried, all the faces that had passed on. The boy would leave too. They always did. The boy seemed to sense his hesitation. Instead of calling again, he did something different. He sat down right where he was, cross-legged on the damp ground, his toy car resting quietly in his hand. He did not reach through the fence. He did not clap. He just sat. Milo watched him, the boy's red jacket bunched around his small shoulders. A little breeze lifted his hair. He hummed a soft tune under his breath, something slow and gentle, like rain on a roof. Minutes passed. The other dogs, seeing no more attention coming their way, began to wander off, some lying down, some going to their water bowls. The yard grew quieter. The music from the radio inside drifted on the air, mixing with the boy's soft humming. "Spud." Slowly, carefully, he lowered his head and let his nose touch Arlo's fingers one more time. Arlo's smile trembled. "That's a yes," he whispered. "Arlo," his mother called again, more firmly now. He stood up, brushing dirt from his knees. For a moment, he looked torn between two worlds, the one outside the fence and the one inside with Milo. "I'll try," he said under his breath, almost like a promise to himself. Then louder to Milo, "I'll come back, I mean it." He stepped backward, then turned and ran to his mother, who wrapped an arm around his shoulders as they walked toward the gate. Arlo glanced over his shoulder twice, each time searching until he found Milo's eyes. Milo watched until the red jacket disappeared around the corner. The yard felt bigger now, emptier, but his chest did not feel hollow the way it usually did after people left. Instead, it buzzed with something new and confusing, a mix of worry and hope that made it hard to stay still. The clouds shifted above, letting a wider beam of sunlight wash over the grass. Milo stayed by the fence longer than he ever had, staring at the path where Arlo had gone, his nose still tingling from that gentle, warm touch. Behind him in the main building, a soft, faint sound rose above the usual noises. A small, uncertain meow drifted through the air, almost too quiet to notice. Milo's ears twitched, turning toward it. Another meow followed, a little louder this time, carrying a note of confusion and something that sounded a lot like fear. Milo's gaze flicked between the path where Arlo had vanished and the shelter door where the strange new sound had come from. He took a hesitant step away from the fence, then another, drawn toward the fragile voice. As he moved, he couldn't shake one thought that wrapped around his heart like a question he did not yet know how to answer. Who was calling from inside the shelter? And why did that tiny, trembling sound feel like it was meant for him?